San Francisco City Hall is the seat of government for the city and county of San Francisco, California. Reopened in 1915 in its open space area in the city's Civic Center, it is a Beaux-Arts monument to the City Beautiful movement that epitomized the high-minded American Renaissance of the 1880s to 1917. The structure's dome is taller than that of the United States Capitol by 42 feet. The present building replaced an earlier city hall that was destroyed during the 1906 earthquake, which was 2 blocks from the present one. It was bounded by Larkin Street, McAllister Street, and City Hall Avenue, largely where the current public library in U.N. Plaza stand today. The principal architect was Arthur Brown, Jr., of Bagwell and Amp Brown, whose attention to the finishing details extended to the doorknobs and the typeface to be used in signage. Brown's blueprints of the building are preserved at the Bancroft Library at the University of California, Berkeley. Brown also designed the San Francisco War Memorial Opera House Veterans Building, Temple Emmanuel, Coy Tower and the Federal Office Building at 50 United Nations Plaza. Architecture. The building's vast open space is more than 500,000 square feet and occupying 2 full city blocks. It is 390 feet between Van Ness Avenue and Polk Street, and 273 feet between Grove and McAllister Streets. Its dome, which owes much to Mansart's Baroque dome of the Val de Grace, Paris, rises 307.5 feet above the Civic Center Historic District. It is 19 feet higher than the United States Capitol, and has a diameter of 112 feet, resting upon 4x50-ton and 4x20-ton girders, each 9 feet deep and 60 feet. The building as a whole contains 7,900 tons of structural steel from the American Bridge Company of Ambridge, Pennsylvania near Pittsburgh. It is faced with Madera County granite on the exterior and Indiana sandstone within, together with finished marbles from Alabama, Colorado, Vermont, and Italy. Much of the statuary is by Henry Crenier. The rotunda is of spectacular space and the upper levels are public and handicapped accessible. Opposite the grand staircase, on the second floor, is the office of the mayor. Bronze busts of former Mayor George Moscone and his successor, Dianne Feinstein, stand nearby as tacit reminders of the Moscone assassination, which took place just a few yards from that spot in the smaller rotunda of the mayor's office entrance. A bust of former county supervisor Harvey Milk, who was assassinated in the building, was unveiled on May 22, 2008. While hard to discern these days, the inscription that dominates the Grand Rotunda and the entrance to the mayor's small rotunda, right below Father Time, reads, San Francisco, OGLORIOVS City of OVR Hearts that hast been tried and not FOVND wanting go THOV with like spirit to may. The FVTVRE thine 1912 James Rolfe Jr. Mayor 1931. The words were written by the previous mayor Edward Robison Taylor, and dedicated by Mayor James Rolfe, while plaques at the mall entrance memorialize President George Washington's farewell address and President Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. The primary themes of the statuary are to the past mayors, with the dates of the terms in office. The medallions in the vaults of the rotunda are of equality, liberty, strength, learning and, as memorialized in the South Light Court display, progress, history. The current City Hall building is a replacement for an original building which was completed in 1899 after 27 years of planning and construction. The original City Hall was a much larger building which also contained a smaller extension which contained the city's Hall of Records. The building was destroyed in the 1906 1906 San Francisco earthquake. Reconstruction plans following the earthquake wanted the building's design and plans to work with noted city planner and architect Daniel Burnham's plan to rebuild the city, and in particular, the Civic Center complex in a neoclassical design as part of the City Beautiful movement, as well as a desire to rebuild the city in time for the 1915 Panama Pacific International Exposition. After Arthur Brown Jr.'s design was selected, construction started in 1913 and was completed by 1915, in time for the exposition. The main rotunda had also served as the location of many prominent state funerals. General Frederick Funston, hero of the Spanish-American War, Philippine-American War, and the 1906 earthquake, had his there in 1917. Joe DiMaggio and Marilyn Monroe were married at City Hall in 1954. Mayor George Moscone and Supervisor Harvey Milk were assassinated there in 1978 by former Supervisor Dan White. The Loma Prieta earthquake of 1989 damaged the structure and twisted the dome 4 inches on its base. Afterward, work was completed under the leadership of the San Francisco Bureau of Architecture in collaboration with Carey and Amp Co. Preservation Architects, and Farrell Elsesser Engineers, to render City Hall earthquake-resistant through a base isolation system. In an earthquake, the mass of the dome threatens to act as a pendulum, rocking the building's structure and tearing it apart. But the base isolation system of hundreds of rubber and stainless steel insulators inserted into City Hall's underpinnings should have the effect of disrupting seismic waves before they can affect the structure. The base isolation system would likely prevent total collapse of the building. City Hall reopened after its seismic upgrade in January 1999, and was the world's largest base-isolated structure at the time. The City Hall has attempted to recruit peregrine falcons to nest in areas outside the dome. Pigeon droppings have to be periodically cleaned from the pair of glass-covered light wells that were covered with concrete at the height of modernism. The new City Hall in nearby San Jose has already drawn at least one pair of falcons, discovered by Mayor Ron Gonzalez himself as he saw pigeon feathers descend past a window during a meeting. In May 1960, the main rotunda was a site of a student protest against the House Un-American Activities Committee and a countering police action whereby students from UC Berkeley, Stanford, and other local colleges were fire-hosed down the steps beneath the rotunda. This event was memorialized by students during the free speech movement at UC Berkeley 4 years later. The original Grand Plaza has undergone several extensive renovations with radical changes in its appearance and utility. Prior to the 1960s, there were extensive brick plazas, few trees, and a few large, simple, raised, and circular ponds with central fountains, all in a style that discouraged loitering. The plaza was then extensively excavated for underground parking. At this time, a central rectangular pond with an extensive array of water vents was added, with extensive groves of trees. In the 1990s, with the rise of the problem of homelessness, the plaza was once again remodeled to make it somewhat less habitable, although the most significant change, the replacement of the pond and pumps with a lawn, could be reasonably justified on the basis of energy and water conservation. Martha Cohen, director of special events, has added color-changeable LED lighting to the outside of the rotunda and amp between the exterior column. The colors change to coincide with different events happening in the city, Bay Area and amp world. Filmography. The beauty of City Hall has not been lost on filmmakers working in San Francisco, A good many films have shot scenes in and around the building. Ironically, that which may be City Hall's best-known scene does not take place in San Francisco but in Washington, D.C. A scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark was filmed in the Rotunda as a late addition to the production when it was decided that a coda was needed for Indiana Jones and Marion Ravenwood's relationship. The City Hall was prominently featured throughout and famously at the end of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Dirty Harry filmed a key scene in the mayor's office itself. In the opening sequence of the towering inferno, the film's dedication is superimposed over a shot of City Hall, and the helicopter taking Paul Newman to the glass tower is shown flying over the building. Other films that feature City Hall include Foul Play, A View to a Kill. The scene from A View to a Kill is particularly memorable for the blaze which tore through the building as a result of an attempt to kill Bond and Stacey Sutton. However, they managed to escape stealing a fire truck in the process.